It is the first warm Saturday in April, and you are out behind the house with the rototiller. You gas it up and pull the cord 4 or 5 times before it catches. Then you spend 2 hours walking that machine back and forth across the garden, fighting it every time it bucks, until the whole plot is turned over, dark and soft and fine as cake flour. You shut it off. Your back aches. You stand there looking at that ground, and it is beautiful. It looks like anything you set in it ought to come up double. Then July gets here, and that same ground has gone hard as the driveway. Water runs off the top instead of soaking in. The weeds are thicker than last year, and thicker again than the year before that. Your tomatoes are the same size they always are. And come April, you will do the whole thing over again. That soft, dark ground you made Saturday morning is not the beginning of a good garden. It is the best that soil is going to look all year, and that is exactly the problem. Stay with me to the end, because the reason a tilled garden grows more weeds every year has almost nothing to do with the weeds you can see. It comes down to one thing that half a second of daylight does to a seed sleeping in the dark. Once a fellow explains it to you, you cannot unhear it. I'm Elias Miller. I'm 58 years old, I'm Old Order Amish, and I was born and raised right here in Holmes County, Ohio, the largest Amish settlement in the world. Emma and I raised 7 children and 19 grandchildren, mostly out of the garden rows behind our white farmhouse, and we never once carried debt. Our son Mose runs the dairy now, so I keep the garden, the shop, the bees, and the smokehouse. In all 58 of those years, there has never been a rototiller on this place. So how does ground that soft in April go hard as a driveway by the 4th of July? Before I take another step, I know what some of you are thinking. Elias, I have seen Amish men out in a field with 4 horses and a plow. You have, and you will again. But there is a wide difference between a plow that lifts a slice of sod and lays it over one time in a field of corn, and a machine with spinning steel blades that beats the same little garden bed to powder every spring for 30 years. My daddy, my grandfather, worked ground with horses his whole life, and he would not have let one of those spinning machines near the garden my mother kept behind the house. He had his own name for what it does. He called it spending the soil. Here's what he meant by that. Dirt is what you sweep off the porch. Soil is something else altogether. Soil is a structure, millions of little crumbs, and every crumb is glued together out of worm castings and fungus threads and old root hairs, with air and water held in the spaces between. That structure takes years to build. A rototiller takes it apart in 40 minutes. And I promised you at the start I would tell you why the weeds come back worse every year. That is the part almost nobody explains, and we will get there. It is the piece that changed how I garden. Now, everything I'm about to show you is one page out of a manual Emma and I put together. It is called Save $7,000 a Year, the Amish Country Manual by Elias and Emma Miller. It is the plain way our families have run a place for generations, written down step by step, with the materials and the dollar amounts sitting right beside them. The soil and the garden and the barn are my half of it. The kitchen and the pantry are Emma's half. You do not have to become Amish. You just have to keep your money like one. The price is $17. It was $47, and we brought it down to $17, because a manual nobody can afford never fed anybody. $17, one time, against bills that come back at you every single month. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. Now I want you to meet the 2 workers you have been killing every spring. Go find a patch of ground that has not been turned in a few years. Pull back the leaves or the straw sitting on top of it. You will find earthworms in there, and if it is good ground, you will find a lot of them. Everybody knows worms are good for a garden. What almost nobody has been told is what those worms are actually building down there. The big night crawlers do not wander around. Each one digs a single tunnel straight down and lives in it. Some of those tunnels go 4 feet deep. Some go 6. The worm comes up at night, pulls a leaf down into the hole, eats it, and leaves its castings along the tunnel wall. That is your drainage. A hard rain runs straight down those holes instead of standing on top, and that is your watering too. In August, roots follow those same tunnels down to where the ground is still damp, 3 feet under, where your hose has never once reached. It takes a worm years to build that. A rototiller ends it in one pass. The blades chop the worms, and the tines collapse every tunnel down to 7 inches. You have not just killed the animals, you have torn out the plumbing. And here is the part that gets me. You would think somebody would print that on the side of the box the tiller came in. Nobody does. There is no money in telling a man he does not need the machine. The worms are only half the crew. The other half you cannot see without getting your nose right down in it. Run your fingers through the soil under an old mulched bed, and you will find fine white threads all through it, like a spider web that grew into the ground. That is fungus, and it is on your side. Those threads wrap onto the roots of your plants and trade with them. The plant hands over a little sugar. The fungus goes out into ground the root will never reach and brings back water and phosphorus and minerals. A thread like that is finer than a root hair. It gets into places a root cannot follow. And a network like that takes 3, 4, or 5 years to spread all the way through a bed. Run a tiller through it, and you cut every one of those threads into pieces an inch long. Then you do it again the next spring, before it ever gets old enough to do you any good. That is why the oldest bed on a place, the one in the corner that nobody ever gets around to working, so often grows the best beans on the whole property. That has nothing to do with the corner. It has everything to do with being left alone. And now we come to the part that fools a man into doing the whole thing over again the next year. The spring you till, the garden greens up, the corn jumps, and you stand there and say, well, there it is. The tiller works. It does not work. What happened is this. All that turning pumped air down into ground that is meant to be mostly closed up, the little life in there went at your leaf mold, and your old manure, like a hog at a trough, burned through years of it in one season and let go of a big slug of nitrogen doing it. That nitrogen is what greened up your corn. That green up is not a gift, it is a withdrawal. You spent 5 years of stored fertility to buy one good June. By September, the ground is poorer than it was, so next spring you buy a bag to make up the difference, and you till again to work the bag in, and you burn a little more. My Da'adi never borrowed $1 in his life, and he would tell you the same thing about ground that he would tell you about money. If you have to keep going back for more, you are not farming it. You are paying interest on it. There is one more thing that machine does, and this one you can go out and find in your own yard in about 10 minutes. The tines on a rototiller only reach so far down, 6 inches, 7 on a big one. And they do not simply chew the soil at the bottom of that reach. They ride along it, spinning and pressing and smearing it flat as they go. And worse if the ground was the least bit damp when you started. So you finish up with 2 gardens stacked one on the other, 6 inches of fluff on top, and directly under it, a smooth, packed layer like the bottom of a clay flower pot. 6 or 7 inches down. That is where it forms, every single time. Watch what that does to you. Rain soaks through the fluff, hits that layer, and stops. It sits there and turns sour, and your roots rot in it. Or it runs off the top and takes your good topsoil down the driveway with it. Then your plants root down 6 inches, hit that pan, and turn sideways. That is why a tilled garden wilts flat every hot afternoon and wants the hose every single day. Those roots have nowhere left to go. Go out with a long screwdriver and push it down into your garden bed. Wherever it stops, that is your pan. That layer took 1 afternoon to make. It will take you 2 or 3 seasons to undo. And remember what I told you about half a second of daylight. We are getting close to that now, and it is the piece that changed how I garden. All right. So if you never turn the ground, what is it you actually do? Here is the whole method, and there are 5 parts to it. Take your time with these. There is no rush at all. 1. Cut, do not pull. When a plant is finished for the year, take a knife or a pair of shears and cut it off right at the ground. Leave every root in the soil. That root rots in place and leaves a tunnel behind it, and the worms come and eat it. Pulling it out tears the ground open for nothing. 2. Feed the top. Every fall, lay 2 inches of compost or well-rotted manure right on the surface. 2 inches and no more than that. Do not mix it in. Do not work it in. The worms will carry it down for you by spring, and they do a better job of it than any machine ever built. 3. Keep the ground covered. Once the compost is on, put 4 to 6 inches of straw or chopped leaves or spoiled hay over the whole bed. 4 to 6 inches, that is what you want. Bare ground is a wound. Ground is meant to be wearing something, always. 4. The one tool you are allowed, a garden fork. Push it straight down into the bed. Rock the handle back about 2 inches, only until you feel the ground crack open. Pull it out. Step back 6 inches and do it again. Never lift, never flip, never turn a thing over. You are only cracking it open so air and water can get down where they belong. Nothing changes places. 5. Plant right through the cover. At planting time, rake the straw aside where the row is going. Set your seed or your plant into the compost underneath. Then pull the straw back up around it once it stands a hand tall. Let me gather that back up for you before we go on. Cut the tops and leave the roots. 2 inches of compost on top in the fall, 4 to 6 inches of straw over that. Crack it with a fork and never turn it. Plant right through the cover. That is the whole of it. Now, if you are starting a brand new bed where there is grass growing right now, you do not need to break that sod at all. You smother it. Lay flattened cardboard right over the grass. Take the tape and the labels off it first. Overlap the edges by a good hand's width so no light slips through. Wet the cardboard down. Then put 4 or 5 inches of compost or old manure on top of it and straw over that. Do it in the fall. By spring, the grass under there is dead, the cardboard is going to pieces, and you plant straight into it. The worms will have found it before you do. And I will tell you the truth about the first year, because I would rather you hear it from me than quit on me in June. If your garden has been tilled for 20 years, the first no-till season may look a little slow. That pan is still down there, and the worms have not come home yet. Give it through the second year. By the third, you will push your bare hand into that bed up to the wrist, and you will not go back to the machine for anything. And what does the whole method cost you? A fork, one time. Ours has hung in the shop longer than Moe's has been alive. Count it the other way. A new rototiller runs $300 or $400. Renting one is $70 or $80 a day around here. Then there is gas and oil and the carburetor that gums up over the winter and the pull cord that lets go on you. My friend Mark, my English neighbor, which is our word for a non-Amish fellow, has had me fix his mower 11 times now. He spends more every year keeping a machine alive for one weekend of work than he would spend on straw for 10 years. We don't buy it twice. And that brings us to the part I promised you at the start. The weeds. There are more weed seeds in your garden right now than you would believe. Under a single square foot of ordinary ground, there can be thousands of them, and they are not new. A good many were dropped before you ever bought the place. Some kinds will lie down there alive and waiting for 20 years or better. So why do they not all come up at once? Because a seed sitting in the dark has one problem to solve, and it is life and death to it. It carries only so much food packed inside it. If it is an inch down, it has plenty to reach the light and start feeding itself. If it is 8 inches down, it will spend everything it has and die in the dark, 3 inches short of the sun. So it waits. And a great many weed seeds carry what amounts to a little switch that reads light, not warmth, light. As long as that seed sits in the dark, the switch stays off and the seed sleeps. Let daylight touch it, even for a fraction of a second, and the switch flips over. Sun means the top means grow now. So think about what a rototiller actually is. It is a machine whose entire job is to reach down into the dark, lift buried soil up, throw it through the open air in full sunshine, and set it back down loose and warm and watered. You did not fight your weeds that Saturday morning. You planted them. You gave a few thousand sleeping seeds the one signal they had been waiting on, and then you tucked them into the finest seed bed they will ever get. That is why it gets worse every year instead of better. Every pass wakes up a new batch and hauls a fresh load of them up from underneath. There are university men who went and tested this very thing. They worked ground in the middle of the night with no lights on the equipment. Same fields, same seeds, same soil. The ground that was turned in the dark came up with far fewer weeds than the ground turned in daylight. The only difference between them was whether a seed got its half-second of sun. My Da'ati could not have told you one word about a switch inside a seed. He only knew that ground worked in the evening came back cleaner, and that ground left alone came back cleanest of all. So he left it alone. And that is the whole thing. Never turn your soil over, and those seeds never get the message. Keep 4 to 6 inches of straw across the top, and the ones near the surface stay in the dark as well. Give it 2 years and your weeding comes down to pulling a few strays out of soft ground with 2 fingers. That beautiful soft ground on the first warm Saturday in April was never your garden getting ready. It was your weed crop getting planted. And that one thing, which costs you nothing at all to know, will save you more weeding than every jug you have ever carried home from the store. There is a whole manual full of those. Save $7,000 a year, the Amish Country Manual, Emma's Half and Mine, written out plain with the materials and the dollar amounts. $17, down from $47. One time, against a house and a garden that take money off you every month for the rest of your life. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So there it is. Cut the tops and leave the roots. 2 inches of compost on top, 4 to 6 inches of straw over that, crack it with a fork, and never turn it over. Tell me in the comments, did your grandparents do it this way too? I'd surely like to hear it. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you how we keep carrots and potatoes and apples all the way through winter with no freezer and no electric at all, and the one thing you have to do to a carrot the same day you pull it, or it will be rubber by Christmas. The old ways still work, friends. Use them well, and God keep you till next time.